The first snow had fallen silently over the sleeping town of Dreamore, a place that looked peaceful by day, but by night whispered with hunger. Between the skeletal trees and frostbitten cottages, something ancient stirred. They called it the Alpha of the Blood Moon, a legend told to frighten children. But legends, like buried bones, had a habit of surfacing. Ava walked alone through the snow-covered path leading to the Blackridge mansion. Her breath misted in the frozen air, the faint crunch of her boots the only sound for miles. Her eyes shimmered pale silver, not human eyes, and beneath her fur-lined coat, a heartbeat pulsed faster than any mortal's. She was no stranger to the darkness. She was the darkness once. The mansion stood ahead, half devoured by ivy and shadow. Candles flickered behind stained glass windows, and from within, she heard it, a low growl, deep enough to tremble the frost from the branches. The sound wasn't a warning. It was recognition. Ava's gloved hand trembled as she pushed open the massive wooden doors. The scent hit her instantly, blood, pine, and the musk of something ancient and alive. The air shimmered faintly red from the firelight spilling down the grand hall. He stepped out from the shadows. The Alpha, 8 feet tall, his silhouette towered between the columns like a living storm. His fur was dark as midnight, matted with streaks of snow and blood. 2 molten eyes burned, gold and crimson, and when he spoke, the sound was low, broken, almost human. Ava, her name, spoken like a memory, like a wound reopened. She froze. "You still remember me?" He came closer, and the air tightened between them. How could I forget the one who cursed me? Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the monstrous face that was once her lover. Beneath the fangs, she saw him, Lucian. The same jawline, the same sorrow. The beast and the man were one. Ava stepped forward, trembling but drawn, her silver eyes glowing softly. "I never meant to curse you, Lucian. You chose the blood moon." He bared his fangs. "And you chose to run." The air throbbed with tension, thick and magnetic. Her heart raced. Every instinct told her to flee. Every memory told her to stay. His clawed hand brushed the air near her cheek, close enough for the heat of his breath to reach her skin. "Why did you come back?" he growled. She whispered, "Because I can still feel you in every howl." Outside, the blood moon rose through the falling snow, red light spilling like a heartbeat across the white ground. Inside, the Alpha and the wolf woman stood inches apart, their curses burning quietly between them. The mansion trembled as the storm began, not from wind, but from something much older, waking once more. The mansion never slept. Even when silence reigned, the house breathed, old wood groaning under its memories, portraits blinking in candlelight, whispers crawling through the walls. Ava could feel them now. They moved like invisible hands through her silver hair, brushing against her neck as though welcoming her home. Lucian had retreated into the darkness of the great hall, but his scent, snow, iron, and something older lingered in every corridor. She followed the trail, slow and careful, the echo of her boots breaking the hush. Each step was a battle between instinct and longing. Part of her wanted to flee this cursed place. The other part wanted to surrender to it completely. At the center of the mansion stood a grand staircase of black marble, its railing carved into twisting wolves frozen in mid-snarl. Blood-colored candles burned along the steps. Ava's reflection shimmered faintly in the polished stone, her eyes catching the crimson light, glowing faintly like a dying ember. She felt the pull of the moon again, deep in her veins, a song older than time. Something moved at the top of the staircase. A shadow, massive, slow, deliberate. Her pulse spiked. Lucian. He descended in silence, each footstep vibrating through the cold air. His form was shifting now, half man, half beast, shoulders broad, muscles flexing under fur streaked with silver. His face remained monstrous, but his eyes were the same ones that once looked at her beneath the willow trees of Dreamore, before the curse, before blood. Ava's lips parted, but no sound escaped. He didn't need words, neither did she. The air between them was thick with history, the kind that could only be built through love and ruin. He moved past her, toward the firelight. The flames bent toward him, as if drawn to his power. He stopped before the hearth, massive claws curling against the floor. "You came back," he said, voice deep, roughened by years of solitude. "Why?" Her voice trembled, quiet as snowfall. "Because the moon called me here, and so did you." Lucian's head turned slightly, eyes narrowing. "The moon doesn't call. It commands. And you've always been too proud to obey." Ava stepped closer, her fingers brushing the fur along his shoulder, coarse and warm, still damp from the snow. "It's not obedience," she whispered. "It's hunger." The fire crackled, throwing waves of light across their faces. She saw the conflict burning behind his eyes, beast and man tearing at each other, both wanting her in different ways. He had once sworn never to hurt her again, but the curse didn't care about oaths. Under the blood moon, hunger ruled all things. He turned suddenly, claws striking the stone, and pinned her against the marble wall. His breath burned hot against her neck. "You shouldn't have come," he growled. She didn't resist. Her pulse throbbed against his chest, a wild rhythm echoing his own. "Then why haven't you killed me?" she whispered. For a moment, the beast faltered. Lucian's claws loosened. The red in his eyes flickered, revealing the man inside, haunted, starved, yearning. His voice dropped lower, almost human. "Because I still remember how you taste when you lie." Her breath caught. A shiver ran through her. The mansion seemed to pulse with their energy, candles flaring brighter as snow pressed harder against the windows. Lucian pulled away, turning toward the fire. His massive frame cast a monstrous shadow against the walls. "The curse binds us," he said softly. "It feeds on our hunger. Every time we touch, it grows stronger." "Then let it," Ava said. He looked back at her, confusion and desire warring in his eyes. "You would let it consume us both?" "I would rather burn with you," she whispered, "than freeze without you." A growl rumbled deep in his chest. He took a step closer, then another. Each footfall shook the floor like thunder. The moment his hand touched her chin, the house itself seemed to hold its breath. The kiss was violent, desperate, the kind born not of love, but of centuries of pain. Blood smeared where their lips met. Ava felt her fangs break through, her own beast awakening beneath her skin. The cold world outside vanished. There was only heat, hunger, and the sound of two creatures remembering what it meant to be alive. When they finally broke apart, Ava's eyes glowed the same molten gold as his. For the first time in years, the curse within her stirred. She touched his chest, feeling the heartbeat beneath the fur. "You're not the only one cursed, Lucian," she said. "The moon marked me too." He stared at her, stunned. The wind howled outside the mansion, rattling every door and window. The blood moon's light poured through the glass ceiling, bathing them in crimson. For a heartbeat, man and monster stood together, their shadows merging into one colossal silhouette across the walls. Then came the sound, a howl, distant but familiar. Another presence had entered the forest. Lucian's ears twitched, his body tense. "She followed you here," he said coldly. "Didn't she?" Ava froze. "Who?" "The Witch of the Frozen Woods," he snarled. "The one who made me what I am." Snow exploded through the open window, carried by a gust of icy wind. The candles flickered, and the mansion groaned as something ancient stirred beyond the trees. Lucian turned toward the storm, his fangs bared. "Stay here," he said, voice low, dangerous. But Ava stepped forward, her silver eyes bright with defiance. "If she comes for you, she'll have to go through me." Lucian growled, not out of anger, but fear. He had lost her once under the blood moon. He wouldn't lose her again. Outside, the howl echoed once more, closer this time, a cry that carried the promise of blood. The night was far from over. The hunger had only begun. The wind howled like something alive, clawing at the walls of the mansion as if desperate to get inside. Snow roared against the stained glass windows, painting every color in tones of white and crimson. Lucian stood by the hearth, his shadow stretching across the hall like the wings of a beast. Ava watched him, half in awe, half in fear, as he stared into the fire, his body trembling beneath layers of fur and muscle. "She's coming," he said, voice low, almost reverent. Ava stepped closer. Who is she really? Lucian's eyes, gold and feral, glinted in the firelight. "The one who made me what I am. The witch who feeds on the hearts of cursed men. I thought I killed her centuries ago, but nothing born of the blood moon ever truly dies." A whisper drifted through the halls, soft, feminine, and cruel. It slithered down the corridors, coiling around their names. Ava, Lucian. The sound seemed to come from everywhere. The fire flickered blue. The scent of frost and rot filled the air. Lucian turned toward the door, every muscle taut. "Stay behind me," he said. His claws extended, gleaming silver against the darkness. But Ava's own power pulsed beneath her skin. Her veins glowed faintly beneath her pale flesh, streaks of moonlight running through her. She was not the frightened woman who had entered this mansion. Something ancient had begun to awaken inside her. The great doors shuddered under a sudden gust, hinges screaming. Then, with a thunderous crash, they burst open. The storm poured in, snow, ash, and crimson light. And through it stepped the Witch of the Frozen Woods. She was both terrible and magnificent, a tall figure draped in tattered silks that shimmered like ice. Her hair, white as bone, flowed in the storm wind. Her eyes burned black and red, twin voids filled with malice and memory. In one hand, she carried a staff made of human ribs. In the other, a lantern that glowed with captured souls. Lucian bared his fangs. "You should have stayed buried." Her smile was sharp as broken glass. "You still smell of me, beast. Every breath you take belongs to my curse." Ava felt a chill spread through her. The witch's gaze found her instantly. "Ah, the girl," she whispered. "The moon's other child. I wondered when you would come." "Leave her out of this," Lucian snarled, stepping forward. But the witch only laughed, a sound that cracked the air like frozen branches. "You still don't understand, my sweet monster. She is the reason your curse was born." Ava's heart stopped. "That's a lie," she said, voice trembling. "Is it?" The witch raised her lantern. Inside it, something flickered, an image of a woman bathed in silver light, identical to Ava, chained beneath the moon. "Long ago, your soul was mine. I gave you both the power to love beyond death and the price of never escaping it." Lucian growled, the mansion shaking with his fury. "Enough!" He lunged, claws slicing through the air. The witch moved like mist, vanishing and reappearing behind him. Her staff struck the floor, sending a wave of frost across the marble. Lucian roared as ice crawled up his legs, freezing fur and flesh. Ava screamed his name, running forward, but the witch flicked her wrist, and invisible tendrils of darkness wrapped around Ava's throat, lifting her off the ground. "You carry the same curse, child," the witch hissed. "You can fight it, or you can embrace it, but you will never be free." Ava's eyes glowed silver as she struggled, her hands clawing at the air. Somewhere deep inside, her beast stirred, a thing of light and darkness, long dormant. The witch's power cracked against her chest like thunder, but Ava didn't fall. She transformed. Her scream became a growl. Her skin split along her spine, silver fur spilling out. Her nails turned to claws, her eyes burning bright as molten moonlight. She broke free of the witch's grasp and landed on all fours, breath steaming in the icy air. Lucian's golden eyes widened. "Ava," but it wasn't the woman who answered. It was the beast inside her. With a roar that shook the hall, Ava charged. She struck the witch with enough force to shatter the marble beneath them. Ice and blood scattered through the air. The witch screamed, not in pain, but in delight. "Yes, show him what you are." Lucian tore himself free from the ice, joining the fray. The mansion became a blur of claws, snow, and firelight. The witch's magic twisted around them like a serpent, chains of shadow, shards of ice, bursts of red energy that scorched the walls. Yet together, the two beasts fought like one heartbeat, one fury, one love turned into war. At last, Lucian seized the witch by the throat, lifting her off the ground. His fangs gleamed inches from her face. "You took everything from me," he snarled. "And you," she rasped, "still don't know what I gave you." Her hand shot forward, piercing his chest. A surge of black energy erupted, throwing them both back. The floor cracked. Candles shattered. Ava screamed and rushed to him, catching his body as he fell. Lucian's chest glowed faintly, a black sigil burning where his heart should be. "She bound my soul to hers," he gasped. "If she dies, so do I." The witch staggered to her feet, blood freezing before it touched the floor. "You see now, girl? You cannot kill me without killing him. You must choose." Ava's eyes filled with tears, glowing like moons behind storm clouds. "There has to be another way." The witch smiled. "There is always another way, but every one of them ends in blood." The blizzard outside grew louder, pressing against the mansion until the roof groaned under the weight. Ava helped Lucian stand. Their blood mingled, steaming against the frozen stone. "Then we end this together," she whispered. They faced the witch as one. The blood moon shone through the broken glass ceiling, bathing them in its light. The air crackled with magic, the scent of iron and snow mixing with something ancient, destiny. Lucian's claws gleamed red. Ava's eyes burned like twin suns. And when they moved as one, a blur of silver and crimson, fury and love intertwined. Outside, the forest trembled. The witch's scream echoed into the night, long, inhuman, and furious. But it wasn't over. When the sound faded, her voice whispered once more through the drifting snow. "Kill me, and you inherit my curse. Spare me, and I'll return with the next moon. Either way, you are mine." The storm swallowed her laughter, leaving only silence and the beating of two hearts, one human, one beast, echoing in the ruins of the mansion. Ava looked at Lucian, her claws trembling. How do we fight something that never dies? Lucian met her gaze, his voice a low growl. We become worse than death. The moon burned red above the frozen world, and the hunt began anew. Snow whispered against the broken windows of the manor like the breath of ghosts. The corridors slept in silence, except for the occasional groan of ancient wood and the faint hum of something unholy pulsing beneath the floorboards, the rhythm of Lucian's curse. Ava wandered those hallways again, her candle trembling in her hand. The light barely touched the walls, where portraits of forgotten nobles stared down with hollow eyes. Somewhere in this house, she could feel him, the alpha who wasn't quite human, who lived between heartbeat and hunger. She had spent nights studying the grimoires she found in the library's secret chamber, leather-bound tomes that smelled of rot and moonlight. Every page whispered Lucian's name as though the ink itself remembered him. They told of an ancient witch, a woman whose love had twisted into vengeance, binding Lucian's soul to a blood oath that made him neither dead nor alive. The curse was born not from hate but devotion, and that was the cruelest thing of all. Ava traced a sigil on the dusty desk, the one she'd seen burned into Lucian's chest. The mark of the moon binding. The text said the only way to sever it was through a ritual so forbidden that even the witches who wrote it were executed by their own kind. It required a heart that refused to die, a heart that loved enough to burn itself in place of the cursed one. Outside, the wind howled, and the moon spilled red across the snow. Ava turned. Lucian stood in the doorway. He was shirtless, his skin slick with the sheen of a storm. His chest glowed faintly where the sigil pulsed, like veins of fire beneath marble. His eyes, one silver, one gold, fixed on her with that same unbearable intensity, as if he could see her thoughts shaping in the air. "You shouldn't read those," he said softly. His voice was calm, but the growl beneath it was animal, trembling with restraint. "I had to know," Ava replied, her breath clouding between them. "This curse, it's killing you slowly. Or maybe keeping you alive when you should have been free." Lucian stepped closer, each movement quiet and heavy, as though his very presence bent the air. "It's keeping others safe from me." His hand brushed against the candlelight, and the flame shuddered. Ava could see it now, the shadow that followed him like a second skin, the faint shimmer of claws hidden under his human shape. "I've seen the ritual," she said, voice trembling but steady. "There's a way to break it." Lucian laughed, low, bitter, and strangely tender. "You think ancient blood magic can undo what love cursed into me?" "I think," she whispered, "that maybe love can undo it again." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, she saw the man beneath the beast, tired, guilty, bound by centuries of regret. "You don't understand what she made me, Ava. My heart stopped beating 100 years ago. It only moves when the moon commands it." "Then let me change that," she said. "Let it move for something else." He turned away, fists clenched. "The last woman who tried to save me never woke up again." Silence stretched. The wind screamed through the broken glass. Ava's candle died. Only the blood moon lit the space now, throwing long shadows across their faces. Then Lucian spoke again, barely above a whisper. "She wanted eternity with me." She didn't understand that eternity inside a monster is just another word for prison. Ava stepped closer, close enough to feel the cold radiating from his body. Her fingers brushed his chest, tracing the glowing sigil. It pulsed faster, responding to her touch. Lucian inhaled sharply, not from pain, but from something far more dangerous. "You're warm," he murmured. "Why are you always so warm in a place like this?" "Because you forgot how it feels," she said. "Because someone has to remind you." For a heartbeat, the beast inside him stirred. The air thickened, heavy with scent and fear and longing. Ava's pulse thundered against her ribs, but she didn't step back. Lucian's hand rose, trembling, his claws half-formed as he touched her cheek. "You shouldn't look at me like that," he warned. "I can't. I don't know where the man ends and the monster begins anymore." "Then maybe that's the point," she replied. "Maybe you're both." His jaw tightened. The golden light in his eyes flickered like dying fire. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her or kill her, but instead, he pulled away and slammed his fist against the stone wall. Blood streaked the stone, black and glimmering in the moonlight. "The ritual needs a heart," he said, his voice cracking under centuries of sorrow. "Not a word, not a promise, a heart. Do you know what that means?" Ava nodded slowly. "Yes." "Then you also know what it costs." "I do." And still, she didn't look away. Lucian turned toward the window, the wind pulling at his hair. The red moon burned brighter, outlining his silhouette in molten light. "I've spent my whole life running from what I am," he said quietly. "But you walk right into the fire." Ava stepped beside him. "Maybe because I see something worth saving inside it." The silence that followed was almost holy. The moon shifted, a crimson halo circling Lucian's form. The beast's reflection in the glass, towering, fanged, and terrible, stood behind him like a guardian made of nightmares. Ava reached out, her hand brushing his. "You said your heart doesn't beat anymore," she whispered. "Then let mine do it for you." He turned to her, eyes wide, something ancient and fragile breaking inside them. "Ava, if you try the ritual, you'll die." "Maybe," she said, "but maybe I'll finally set you free." The sigil on his chest flared, casting crimson light across her face. His hand found hers, gripping it tightly as if the world would shatter if he let go. And for the first time since the curse began, Lucian felt it, the faint, impossible thrum beneath his ribs. A heartbeat, not his own, hers, and it was enough to make the monster kneel. The night did not end, it simply changed color. The storm had quieted, leaving behind only the silence of a world that held its breath. The ancient mansion stood buried under sheets of moonlit snow, its towers like black fangs biting into the sky. Inside, Ava sat beside the dying fire, her hands trembling above the flickering embers. The warmth felt false now, too small, too human, against the enormity of what she had learned. The ritual was no mere spell. It was a covenant written in blood and pain, one that required a heart still beating with love to anchor the dead one it sought to restore. Lucian hadn't returned since the moment the sigil flared. He had left her there, her pulse echoing inside the hollow room like a drum of defiance. And yet, she could feel him, a weight pressing against her soul, a whisper of fur and fire beneath her skin. The bond between them was forming, thread by thread, as if the curse itself recognized her. A sound, soft, deliberate, broke the quiet. Ava rose, candle in hand. The corridor beyond the door was a throat of darkness. Snowflakes drifted through the cracks in the old glass, melting into drops of light. She followed the trail, prints in the frost that weren't quite human. Each step was clawed, heavy, pulsing faintly red. She knew whose they were. Lucian was near. The prince led her through a broken archway into the chapel, or what remained of it. The ceiling had collapsed long ago, and now only snow and ash covered the altar. The moonlight fell through the jagged opening above, bathing the ruined pews in a crimson-white glow. And there he was. Lucian knelt before the altar, bare-chested, snow clinging to his hair and shoulders. His back was to her, the faint outline of his scars carved into marble-pale skin. Steam rose from his body with every breath, his muscles taut beneath the weight of something invisible, something ancient. "You shouldn't be here," he said, without turning. His voice was hoarse, the words strained, almost breaking. "I came to find you." He laughed bitterly. "You already did. And now you don't know how to let go." Ava stepped closer. "You said the curse was born from love. If that's true, then maybe it can end with love too." Lucian turned his head slightly, and in that partial shadow, she saw his eyes, the golden one flickering like fire, the silver one bleeding into the color of the moon. "Love is what kills people like me," he whispered. "It's a blade we hold by the wrong end." "Then let it cut," she said. He turned fully now. His face was drawn, haunted, beautiful in its ruin. "You don't understand what this curse does. The witch who bound me didn't just take my soul. She divided it, gave half to the beast, and left half rotting in me. When you touched the mark, you awakened both." He rose, slowly, his massive form towering above her. "Now the beast can smell you. It knows your blood. It knows your heartbeat." Something moved behind him, a shadow that wasn't his. The air thickened, the scent of burnt snow filling the chapel. Ava's candle flickered wildly, then died. The silhouette stepped out of the darkness. It was shaped like a wolf, but far too large, its shoulders scraping the stone arch, its claws dragging sparks across the ground. Its fur shimmered like oil in firelight, patches of raw flesh glowing through. The eyes burned crimson, intelligent and cruel. Lucian's jaw clenched. "It's part of me," he said, voice cracking. "It is me, the half that never forgave the curse." The beast growled, not at Ava, but at Lucian. "You see," he whispered, "it doesn't want me freed. It wants to survive, and to do that, it must feed." The wolf lunged. Lucian moved like lightning, tackling the creature to the ground. The sound of bone and snarl filled the chapel, echoing through the empty nave. Snow and ash swirled around them like storm clouds. Ava screamed, stepping back as claws raked the floor inches from her feet. "Lucian!" His voice came out between growls. "Run!" But she didn't. Instead, she stepped forward, to the altar, to the open grimoire that still lay there in the frost. The pages fluttered wildly as if alive, the blood-red ink shifting to form words she had never seen before. The ritual of severance. Her hands shook as she began to read. "Two hearts must beat as one beneath the moon. One of shadow, one of flame. The blood of the cursed, bound by the will of the living. In death, rebirth. In pain, freedom." Lucian roared, a sound that wasn't human, as the beast threw him across the room. He hit the wall hard, the sigil on his chest glowing so brightly it seared the air. Ava cried out and ran to him, kneeling beside his body. His breathing was ragged, his eyes unfocused. You can't," he rasped. "Yes," she said, tears freezing on her cheeks. "I can." The beast stalked closer, its massive head lowering, hot breath steaming in the cold air. Its gaze was fixed on her now, not out of hunger, but curiosity. Ava stood between Lucian and the monster, her trembling hands glowing faintly as the words of the ritual burned through her. The air shifted. Snow lifted off the ground, suspended midair like a halo. The sigil on Lucian's chest mirrored one forming on hers, burning through her dress, searing her skin with light. Lucian gasped and reached toward her. "Stop. You don't know what it will take." Her voice was steady, even as the light grew brighter. "I know exactly what it takes." The beast reared, roaring, but its voice was cut short. The magic binding it to Lucian began to tear. The sigil's light connected the two like a thread of blood and lightning. Lucian screamed. The creature howled. The air split apart with a crack like thunder. Ava stepped forward, blood running from her nose, her heartbeat hammering faster than humanly possible. She placed her hand on the sigil on his chest. Their hearts beat together, his dead, hers burning alive. For a moment, time folded. She saw visions, Lucian as a man, centuries ago, standing beside a woman with raven hair. A witch, his lover. The night she cursed him, tears streaming down her face as she said, "If I cannot have your heart in life, then you will never have it in death." And now, Ava's voice answered her from across time. "Then take mine instead." Light exploded. The beast shattered into smoke. Lucian collapsed forward, gasping as if taking his first breath in centuries. Ava fell into his arms, her body trembling. The sigil faded from his chest. For the first time, it was still. Lucian cradled her face, panic overtaking his features. "Ava." Her eyes fluttered open. "It's done," she whispered. "You're free." He shook his head. "No, you've given me your life." She smiled faintly. "Maybe you'll use it better than I did." And then her heartbeat slowed. Once, twice, stopped. Lucian screamed, a sound that shook the glass from the chapel windows. The snow outside turned to mist as his tears fell onto her cold skin. The sigil flickered once more, faint and blue, then vanished entirely. The curse was gone, but the price had been paid. He gathered her into his arms, the night falling silent again. Outside, the blood moon sank behind the mountains, replaced by the first pale rays of dawn. Lucian, the immortal beast, sat alone in the ruins, his heart now alive, his soul bound to the woman who had given hers away. And as the wind whispered through the hollow chapel, he could swear he heard her voice. Faint, the dawn never truly came. It only paled the crimson moonlight into ash. Lucian sat in the ruins of the chapel, Ava's body still in his arms. The snow had stopped falling, but the world remained frozen, silent, reverent, like a cathedral for the dead. Her hair shimmered faintly silver in the dying light, strands moving with the soft breath of the wind that no longer reached her chest. He had thought freedom would feel lighter. Instead, it felt like drowning. The curse was broken. He could feel the absence of it like a missing heartbeat, but Ava's warmth fading in his hands carved an emptiness deeper than any chain. Lucian brushed his thumb along her cheek, whispering words that sounded too human for the beast he once was. "I didn't ask for this," he said quietly, his voice trembling against the echo of the ruins. "You were supposed to live. You were supposed to walk away." A sound answered him, faint, cold, and wrong. It came not from the forest, but from within the ground. A tremor ran through the chapel stones. Frost cracked, the altar split, and from beneath the shattered sigil came a whisper of smoke, dark as ink, curling upward in tendrils that smelled of ash and lilies. Lucian rose, placing Ava gently on the stone floor, his eyes narrowing. He recognized that scent. He would never forget it. "Seraphine," he growled, his voice dipping into the low, animal rumble he hadn't used in years. The smoke coalesced, the air twisted, and from the black mist, a shape began to form, a woman draped in shadow, her long hair flowing like liquid night. Her face was pale, almost translucent, but her eyes burned red, twin embers that seemed to see through centuries. Seraphine, the witch who had once loved him, the witch who had damned him. Her voice was music and venom. "You call my name again. How tender, my love, how foolish." Lucien's hands clenched. "You should be gone. The curse is over." She smiled. A slow curl of lips painted the color of blood. "Is it? You think magic that ancient dies with a girl's heartbeat?" Her gaze shifted to Ava's body lying in the snow. For a moment, something like sorrow flickered in her expression, old, quiet, buried beneath centuries of bitterness. "She gave you what I couldn't," she whispered. "A heart untainted, pure. That's why it worked." Lucien took a step forward, his eyes burning gold. "Leave her out of this." "Oh, but she's part of it now," Seraphine said softly, circling him like a serpent. "Her soul rests in you, and I can feel it, flickering, trembling, still warm. You think death can hold her? You think love saves anyone?" Her words sank into him like claws. The beast in him stirred, restless, as if recognizing its true master. Seraphine's hand brushed his chest, her fingers tracing the faint mark where the sigil had burned away. Frost bloomed beneath her touch. "You stole from me, Lucien. You took the life that once bound my spell. You think you can just undo me?" Lucien's jaw tightened. "You cursed me because I loved you." "No." Her voice cracked, the first fracture of emotion breaking through her calm. "I cursed you because you stopped." The wind howled through the ruins, scattering ashes and snow. Seraphine stepped back, her form flickering between woman and shadow. "Do you know what it means to bind a soul?" she asked, voice rising. "To tear your heart in two and give half to another, only to watch him fall for someone else a lifetime later." Lucien's silence was its own confession. Seraphine laughed, hollow, beautiful, and broken. "And still, I can't destroy you. Isn't that cruel?" The snow began to rise again, spiraling around them in a storm of white and shadow. The chapel groaned, stones splitting under unseen pressure. Lucien spread his hands, his voice trembling between rage and plea. "If you ever loved me, Seraphine, let her rest. Take me instead." Her eyes softened for the briefest instant, then hardened like glass. "I already did." She raised her arms. The sigil on the floor reignited, blazing blood red. The air trembled, the temperature dropped, and the snow turned black as ash. Lucien staggered, clutching his chest. The mark, gone moments ago, flared back to life, carving itself into his skin anew. Pain tore through him like lightning. His breath caught. His eyes went wide. "Seraphine." But the witch was not smiling now. Her voice broke as she spoke, each word trembling with tears and fury. "Do you think I want this? I tried to die 100 times, but the curse lives through you, and now through her. If she gave you her soul, then she gave it to me." The world went silent for a heartbeat. Then a sound, faint, impossible, stirred the air. Ava's breath. Lucien turned sharply. Her lips parted, frost melting against them. Her eyelids fluttered, revealing eyes no longer fully human. A faint blue light pulsed beneath her skin, echoing the same sigil that burned in his chest. "No," Lucien whispered, his heart twisting. Seraphine stepped closer, all flickering in her face. "It's begun," she murmured. "The soul doesn't die. It transfers. She carries the curse now, the same bond that once chained me to you." Ava stirred weakly, her voice fragile as wind. "Lucian." He dropped beside her, gathering her into his arms. I'm here, Ava." Her gaze was distant, lost between two worlds. "It's cold." Seraphine's shadow fell over them. "Do you see now, my love? There is no end, only inheritance. You cannot free yourself from what you are." Lucian looked up, his golden eyes burning through tears. "Then I'll find a way to end it, for both of them, for all of us." Seraphine smiled sadly. "You'll try. You always do." Her form began to dissolve into smoke again, her voice fading into the wind. "When she wakes, she won't remember this pain, but she will feel it every full moon, every drop of blood that touches her lips. The curse has a new heart now, and it beats inside her." Lucian shouted after her, his voice raw and human again. "Seraphine, if this is mercy, damn your mercy." But the witch was gone. Only the cold remained, and the faint heartbeat of the woman he loved, echoing inside the ruins like a promise and a threat. Lucian cradled Ava close, snow melting under his tears. The sigil on his chest dimmed, while a faint red shimmer spread beneath her skin, the curse, reborn in gentler flesh. He whispered into her hair, his voice breaking with devotion and despair. "Then we'll carry it together." Outside, the blood moon began to rise again, slower this time, weaker, but not gone. The light poured through the shattered ceiling, spilling across the two figures entwined in the ruin's heart, beast and woman, death and love, bound by the witch's final act. And somewhere deep in the forest, where frost never melted and shadows never slept, Seraphine's laughter drifted like the echo of a broken prayer. "The heart cannot die, Lucian, not when it still remembers how to love." The storm had passed, but the snow that followed blanketed the world in ghostly silence. The forest around Blackthorn Mansion was frozen, as if even nature feared to move. Ava walked through the snow barefoot, her breath trembling in the cold air, drawn toward the ancient crypt hidden deep beneath the northern cliffs. She didn't feel the frost biting her skin anymore. All she could feel was him. Lucian. For 3 nights, he hadn't returned. And each night, her dreams had grown darker, filled with the echo of his voice, pleading, growling, breaking, somewhere between agony and desire. Tonight, she followed that echo through the whispering trees until she found the entrance, a jagged crack in the earth lit faintly by the blue glow of runes etched on the stone. The crypt doors were half open. Blood had frozen over their iron surface, and when she stepped inside, the air changed, thick, damp, and humming with the pulse of something ancient. Torches flickered to life as if welcoming her, revealing an underground chamber lined with bones and carvings. In the center stood Lucian, but he wasn't the man she remembered. His body trembled with a monstrous transformation. His veins glowed faintly under his pale skin, his eyes no longer gold but burning red. The wolf within him, the alpha curse, had taken dominance. Around him, runes glowed in a circle of blackened ash, and his claws dug into the stone as if he were fighting something unseen. "Lucian," Ava whispered. He looked up, eyes filled with torment, recognition, and something deeper. "Love, you shouldn't be here," his voice rasped, distorted, as though two creatures spoke at once. "The oath it binds me, to the witch, to her blood. Ava stepped closer, heart pounding, her hands trembling. Then let me share it. Whatever binds you, I'll bear it too. He growled, not in anger, but in fear. You don't understand. The moment you cross this circle, it becomes you too. Then so be it, she whispered, stepping forward. The runes hissed as she entered, the light flaring like 1,000 burning suns. The air exploded around her, and for an instant, she saw it, the spirit of the witch, pale and serpentine, her face twisted in cold beauty. You dare to steal what I own? The witch's voice thundered, echoing in every stone. His soul is mine. His blood sealed the oath beneath the moon. Ava stood tall, eyes wet but unwavering. Then take mine too, but you will never own his heart. The witch laughed, a sound like shattering glass. So you think love can undo death? Foolish mortal, you are nothing but his weakness. Lucian roared, his claws raking the stone floor as pain ripped through his chest. His transformation intensified, fur bursting from his skin, fangs lengthening, the wolf emerging fully in a storm of black and silver. He tried to push Ava away, but she didn't move. She placed her hand over his heart, feeling its chaotic rhythm. Lucian, look at me, she said. Look at me and remember who you are. For a heartbeat, his eyes met hers. Red flickered to gold. His monstrous breathing slowed. The witch's light began to falter. Ava's blood dripped from her fingers. She'd cut her palm on the rune stone. And as her blood touched his, the circle burned brighter, changing from crimson to pure white. A shockwave burst through the crypt. The witch screamed, a shrill, inhuman sound that echoed into the night as her form shattered like smoke in the wind. Lucian fell to his knees, gasping, the beast retreating slowly under his skin. Ava cradled his face in her trembling hands, her lips brushing his forehead. It's over, she whispered, but his eyes, still gold, still haunted, opened weakly. No, it's only begun. You've bound yourself to the curse now, Ava. When the blood moon rises again, it will call for you too. The torches went out. Darkness fell. Only the faint shimmer of moonlight through the crack above illuminated them. Two souls bound by a love that had defied death itself. Outside, the wind howled across the cliffs. The forest bent low, as though mourning. And far in the distance, beyond the mountain ridges, the red gleam of the blood moon began to rise again. Early, burning, hungry. Ava looked up, holding Lucian close. For the first time, she felt the faint pulse of something foreign inside her veins, ancient, feral, and alive. The curse had not been broken. It had been shared. The snow never stopped falling that night. It blanketed the mansion and the forest in white silence, a silence so heavy it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. Ava stood at the window of Lucian's ancient chamber, her fingers brushing against the frosted glass, watching the red reflection of the moon glimmer over the forest. The blood moon was fading, but its mark had been carved deep, not just on the land, but on her. Her heartbeat no longer felt like her own. It pulsed in rhythm with something older, deeper, the throb of a beast's heart that slept within her chest. Since the ritual, her senses had sharpened painfully. She could hear every whisper in the mansion, every distant howl from the valley. And when she looked at Lucian, she didn't just see him, she felt him. The scent of his blood called to her like the pull of the tide. Lucian sat by the dying fire, his silver hair tangled and his chest bare, scarred where the ritual marks still burned faintly crimson. His eyes flickered between man and beast, gold irises burning through human restraint. He looked up at her, and for a long moment, neither spoke. The fire cracked, and something ancient moved between them. "You feel it too," Ava whispered, her voice trembling. Lucian's jaw tightened. "The hunger." His lips curled into a broken smile. "It's not hunger, Ava. It's the curse finding its balance between us. What was once mine is now ours." Her throat tightened. "Then why does it feel like it's tearing me apart?" Lucian rose, every motion fluid yet monstrous, his shadow stretching long and wolfish across the stone floor. "Because it's not meant for mortals," he said softly. "The curse feeds on the bond between soul and flesh. You tied yourself to me beneath the blood moon. Now it will feed on your desire, until it owns you." Ava turned away, her reflection in the glass warping, her eyes glowing faintly amber, her breath fogging against the frost. "Then teach me to control it," she said, "before it consumes us both." Lucian's expression darkened with something between fear and longing. "You don't know what you're asking. To tame this bond, you'll have to surrender to it." The wind outside screamed through the eaves as if warning her. But Ava only stepped closer. "Then show me." He closed the distance slowly, like a predator circling something precious and forbidden. His claws brushed her wrist, gentle, yet sharp enough to draw a bead of blood. Her gasp echoed softly. The scent hit him like wildfire. His control faltered. His eyes blazed, fangs glinting under the firelight. For a heartbeat, the beast in him wanted to devour her, not out of hate, but out of the unbearable need to merge, to claim what had already been bound. Instead, he drew her hand to his lips and kissed the wound. His tongue burned cold as iron. A shock ran through her, not pain, but a dark sweetness that made her shiver. The mark glowed faintly between them, a red thread of light binding their hands. The moon's light flooded the room, blood red on snow-white skin. Ava's head fell back as the connection surged, a torrent of shared memory and emotion crashing through her mind. She saw Lucian's past, the cursed forest, the witch's laughter, centuries of loneliness, the blood of his brothers staining the snow. And then, she felt what he felt, the endless hunger, the pain of immortality, and a love that had been lost 1,000 years ago. When she came back to herself, tears had frozen on her cheeks. Lucian looked broken, the beast retreating, the man trembling. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said hoarsely. "I had to," Ava replied. "If this curse lives inside me now, then so does your pain." She stepped closer, placing her palm against his chest. His heart was a storm under her touch, half human, half something else. "But tell me, Lucian, if it feeds on desire, can love starve it?" He froze. The word love hit him harder than any curse. His eyes softened. For the first time in centuries, the beast hesitated. But then, the mansion shuddered. The torches along the walls flickered blue, the air turning colder, sharper. "She knows," Lucian whispered. Ava frowned. "Who?" "The witch," he said, his voice low and filled with dread. "The one who cursed me. The ritual we performed, it broke her seal. She'll come for you now. The curse has found a new host." Outside, the snowstorm howled like 1,000 wolves. The windows rattled violently, as if the storm itself was alive. From the forest came a sound that made Ava's blood turn to ice, a woman's laugh, low and echoing, rolling through the night like thunder. Ava grabbed Lucian's arm. "What does she want?" "She wants what she's always wanted," he said, eyes burning gold once more. "My soul and now yours." The room exploded in a flash of red and blue light as the blood moon broke through the clouds again. Lucian's body convulsed. His claws tore at the floor, his breath coming in growls. The curse surged through him and into her. She screamed as the same fire burned through her veins. Her reflection in the mirror split, one half woman, the other beast. Lucian caught her before she fell, his body trembling as he fought the transformation. "Ava, look at me," he growled, his voice a deep, monstrous echo. "I can't," she gasped, her pupils narrowing, her voice breaking into a low, feral growl. "Then let it happen," he whispered desperately. "Don't fight it. Let the curse shape you, or it will kill you." She looked up at him through glowing eyes, part fear, part wild hunger. And in that moment, as the storm tore the world apart outside, two cursed hearts beat in unison, one human, one beast, bound together by blood, desire, and a fate neither could escape. The storm had not been born from the clouds. It had come from her. By the time the first trees began to splinter outside the mansion walls, Lucian already knew the witch had awakened. He could taste her magic in the air, iron and rot, mixed with something sweet and poisonous. Every candle flickered blue, every shadow crawled against the walls like living things. Ava sat by the hearth, her breathing ragged, her eyes flickering between gold and violet. Her hands trembled, not from cold, but from the pulse of the curse within her. Frost crept across her skin like veins of light. "She's here," Ava whispered. Lucian nodded grimly. "She's always been here." The forest was her grave and her kingdom. A loud crack split the air as one of the mansion's iron doors wrenched open. The wind screamed through the corridors, carrying the faint scent of blood and flowers long dead. Ava rose to her feet, her bare soles whispering against the cold stone. "What does she want from me?" Lucian's gaze darkened. "You broke the ritual. You gave the curse a heart again. The witch can't destroy me while I'm bound to you, so she'll come for you instead." He stepped forward, placing a clawed hand on her cheek. "Whatever happens, you must not let her take your name. That's how she binds souls. Promise me." Ava nodded, but before she could speak, the lights went out. For a moment, the mansion was devoured by pure, suffocating dark. And then a glow, faint and spectral, rising from the floorboards. Blue fire seeped through the cracks in the wood like blood through a wound. And from it, a figure began to form. The witch stepped into being as if pulled from the smoke of a dying dream. Her body was tall, shrouded in a gown made of frost and cobwebs, her hair cascading like black silk shot through with silver strands of ice. Her face was impossibly beautiful, ageless, but her eyes burned an unnatural white, hollow and endless. "Lucian," she breathed, voice soft as snow, sharp as glass. "How many centuries have you run from me?" Lucian's teeth bared. "Long enough to forget your touch." The witch smiled, slow and poisonous. "And yet you remember my curse." Her gaze turned to Ava. "Ah, the mortal who carries half your soul. She's exquisite. You always did have a taste for beauty that bleeds." Ava's pulse roared in her ears. "You're the one who cursed him." The witch's grin deepened. "Cursed? No, my dear. I made him. I gave him the hunger, the immortality, the strength. He begged for it, when the world took everything he loved." Lucian growled. "You twisted the wish. You made me a monster." "Monsters," she said sweetly, stepping closer, "are simply what gods fear to become." Her eyes flicked back to Ava. "Tell me, child, Has he told you what the curse truly is? That it feeds on love, that the more you give, the less of you remains. Ava's breath caught. She looked at Lucian, but he said nothing. The witch raised a finger, and the room filled with red mist. Images flickered through it, flashes of memory. Ava saw Lucian kneeling before the witch centuries ago, his body broken, blood on his hands, begging. "Bring her back," he had said. "Bring my beloved back." The witch's laughter echoed through the mist. "Then you shall have her in every lifetime, but you will devour her every time you love her." The vision shattered. Ava staggered backward, her heart slamming against her ribs. You did this for her?" "Not me." Lucian's voice broke. "Ava, listen, it was you. It's always been you. Her curse binds your soul to mine, lifetime after lifetime. I find you and I lose you." The witch clapped her hands once. "Beautiful tragedy, isn't it? And now, the curse has come full circle. You've completed the ritual. The blood of the wolf and the heart of the woman have merged again. But this time, Lucian." She tilted her head. "It's her body that carries the hunger." Ava gasped as pain shot through her chest. Her back arched, bones cracked under her skin, her breath coming out in sharp, animal sounds. Her reflection in the frost glass wall twisted, human 1 second, wolf the next. Lucian rushed forward, catching her before she fell. "Ava, stay with me." But her eyes were glowing, wild and lost. "I can't. She's inside me." The witch smiled. "Oh, she's more than inside you. She is you now. My curse is complete." Lucian roared, his claws flashing as he lunged. But the witch moved with impossible grace, her shadow elongating, wrapping around him like smoke. He was thrown back into the wall, stone cracking under his weight. "Still so impulsive," she murmured. "You never learned, did you? You can't kill me, Lucian. I am what made you." But Ava was no longer listening. She could feel the witch's magic crawling through her veins, and something else, darker, older, pushing back. The beast inside her was waking, not as the witch's servant, but as something ancient and sovereign. Snow blasted through the broken windows, whirling around her like a living storm. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper and a growl at once. "You made me from his curse, but I am not yours." The witch blinked, surprised for the first time in centuries. Lucian staggered to his feet, his body trembling with the strain of transformation. His voice was raw. "Ava, don't fight the beast. Become it." The witch sneered. "Foolish boy, she'll destroy herself." But Ava's eyes were not human anymore. They glowed with 2 colors, red and blue, fire and ice, life and death. Her hair whipped around her as the moonlight turned silver again through the storm. The ground trembled. Cracks spread through the floor as the curse that had bound Lucian for centuries began to unravel. The witch screamed, her voice shattering glass. "No, you cannot break what is eternal." Ava took a step forward, her body half human, half wolf, glowing with spectral light. "Then I'll become what you fear," she said, her voice echoing like thunder. She extended her clawed hand, and for the first time, the witch staggered back. The curse in Ava's blood was rewriting itself, bending not toward hunger, but toward power. The beast in her was no longer Lucian's shadow, it was its own creation. Lucian stared in awe and terror. The bond between them burned so bright it was blinding, and yet, he could feel the witch's grip slipping. The witch screamed again, dissolving into black smoke that fled toward the forest. "This isn't over," her voice hissed. "The curse does not die, it only changes form." The wind howled once more, and then silence. Ava collapsed, the beast fading from her body, leaving faint scars that glowed under her skin. Lucian caught her before she hit the ground. He pressed his forehead to hers, his voice low and trembling. "You broke her hold. You did what I couldn't in 1,000 years." Her lips parted weakly. "Then why does it still feel like she's watching?" Lucian glanced toward the window. In the distance, through the forest, a single blue flame still burned between the trees, a reminder that the witch's presence had not been erased, only hidden. He whispered, "Because the curse is older than both of us. And the moon isn't done feeding." The storm outside calmed, but the snow kept falling, quiet, endless, and red in the moonlight. The night bled red. From the frozen peaks to the shattered valley, the blood moon rose for the final time, enormous, swollen, and dripping crimson light upon the world below. The forests were silent, the snow blackened with ash, and the wind itself seemed to hold its breath. Lucian stood at the edge of the ancient forest, his cloak torn and bloodied, his golden eyes dim beneath the shadow of the curse. He could feel her, the witch. Her presence was no longer confined to a body. She had become part of the storm, the wind, the very moon itself. Behind him, Ava emerged from the dark. Her steps left faint blue fire in the snow, and every breath she took shimmered with frost and ember, both ice and blood. She was no longer entirely human, nor entirely beast. She was something between, divine and terrible, beautiful and broken. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "She's calling us to the old ruins, isn't she?" Lucian nodded. "The place where the first blood oath was made, where I gave her my soul." Ava looked up at the sky. "Then that's where we end it." They moved through the forest in silence. The trees leaned in as if listening, their branches slick with frozen blood. The moonlight pooled across their path, glowing like veins of fire under the snow. When they reached the ruins, the witch was already there, her form a swirling storm of shadows and frost, her laughter echoing through the broken stones. "So it ends where it began," she said, her voice both near and far, everywhere at once. "The beast, the lover, the curse, one endless circle." Lucian stepped forward, claws unsheathing. "This circle ends tonight." She smiled, the edges of her face rippling like smoke. "You think you can kill what you are, my sweet Lucian? You were born for me. You carry my blood, my power, my hunger." Her gaze turned to Ava. "And now, she carries your heart. Which one shall I devour first?" Ava's fury erupted before Lucian could move. Her eyes blazed, twin flares of gold and blue, and the ground split open beneath her feet. Snow and ash burst into a whirl of light as the spirit of the wolf inside her rose like a living shadow. "You will touch neither," she hissed. "You will remember." The witch laughed, but her laughter faltered when Ava stepped closer, every heartbeat shaking the ground. "You are brave," the witch whispered, "but bravery means nothing to eternity." Ava lifted her palm. A mark glowed there, a burning sigil made of Lucian's blood. "Then I'll make eternity bleed." Lucian moved beside her, their hands finding each other in the storm. The contact burned, not with pain, but with power. The curse that once devoured them now pulsed between their hearts. The witch raised her arms, and the blood moon above began to drip, rivers of liquid fire raining down upon the ruins. The ground burned, the forest screamed, the world itself trembled. Lucian shouted above the roar, "Ava, the bond, it's feeding on both of us." She met his gaze and smiled. A sad, knowing smile. Then let it. We'll starve her together. She pressed her lips to his, and in that kiss, the curse ignited. The explosion of light was deafening. The witch shrieked as her form unraveled, every scream another memory tearing free from her soul. The blood moon cracked like glass. Red light spilled across the heavens, breaking into thousands of shards that fell as burning snow. Ava's body arched as the power coursed through her. Lucian held her tight, his own form breaking apart into motes of light. Their blood, mingled in the ritual, spiraled upward, a luminous thread that pierced the moon itself. For a moment, everything stopped. The witch's voice, soft now, hollow, echoed through the smoke. You think you've won, my children? You've only rewritten the curse. The moon will remember. The blood will remember. And then she was gone. The storm fell silent. The moon faded from red to silver. The ruins, once burning, turned to glass. Lucian and Ava lay in the snow, surrounded by the light of dawn. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, her skin pale, faintly glowing, her breath shallow. It's over, he whispered. You broke it. Ava's eyes fluttered open, half gold, half blue. No, we broke her. The curse remains, but it's ours now. Lucian frowned. Ours? She smiled weakly. It means no one else can control it. Not the witch, not the moon. Only us. He pulled her close, his arms trembling. Then we'll learn to live with it. But as the first rays of dawn crept across the horizon, Ava's body began to fade, her edges dissolving into light and mist. Lucian froze. No. Ava, no. Her fingers brushed his cheek, leaving a faint warmth. The curse needed one life to anchor it. You gave yours once. Now it takes mine. He shook his head violently. I can't lose you again. You won't, she whispered, pressing her forehead to his. You'll find me when the moon bleeds again. And with that, she was gone, her body scattering into blue and crimson embers that rose with the wind. Lucian screamed into the dawn, his voice echoing across the frozen valley. The sound carried for miles, fading only when the sun rose fully and the snow began to melt. He stood alone amid the ruins, a lone wolf beneath the fading moon. But something glimmered in the snow beside him. A pendant, Ava's, shaped like a crescent, half blue, half red, still warm to the touch. He clenched it in his fist, his breath trembling. I'll find you, he murmured, even if it takes another 1,000 years. The wind answered with a low, distant howl, the same tone that had once called him from the depths of the curse. And as the light grew, the last traces of red faded from the sky. The blood moon was gone, but its reflection, faint, ghost-like, lingered in the morning frost, as if watching, waiting for love to rise again.